What would you do if your husband hurled a $600,000 meal in your face because you said one word? No? I walked into LeJardan wearing a gown stitched with silence, seated beside a man who wore his charm like a weapon and his mother like a second spine. It was supposed to be the pinnacle of elegance, of status, of everything I was taught to chase. But before the appetizers were cleared, I'd be drenched in truffle sauce and humiliation, served not just by my husband, but by a life I'd outgrown. What they didn't know, I wasn't just the woman at the table. I owned the table. And that night, I stopped pretending to be small. My name is Georgia. I was supposed to be living the dream, perched inside New York's most elite restaurant, wearing a designer dress I didn't even like, next to my husband Texas and his eternally unimpressed mother, Alabama. But what started as a glossy evening of high society quickly unraveled into a public reckoning. Texas had always hidden his cruelty behind polish, his temper behind charm. In private, he controlled everything. In public, he smiled like a man above scandal. But that night, the mask cracked, and when I said no, he shattered. The maitre d' led me through LeJardan's glittering foyer, a hall of chandeliers, crisp linen, and whispered power. Every table buzzed with wealth and wine. Every face looked like it belonged on a magazine cover or a boardroom wall. But none of that mattered. I wasn't here for spectacle. I was here for clarity. At our table, Texas was already seated, perfectly, pressed in his custom suit, flanked by Alabama, who looked at me like I was a smudge on her silverware. "You're late," Texas said, not even bothering to hide the irritation in his voice. "I was on time," I replied, careful. Alabama gave a tight smile. "A lady should always arrive early. It's a matter of respect. That was always the game. No matter how still I stood, they'd always find a reason to push." The waiter appeared with the wine list, but Texas waved him off. "We'll have a bottle of the Chateau Margaux 1787. My eyes snapped to his. I knew the price, over $600,000 for a single bottle. "Texas," I whispered. "Are you sure?" His eyes cut into mine. "Don't embarrass me." He ordered an off-menu truffle dish flown in from Elba. Alabama followed with something equally outrageous. When it was my turn, I asked for a Caesar salad. "A salad?" Alabama scoffed. "You're wasting the experience." She scanned me like she was inspecting damage. The rest of the evening was a carousel of tension. Travel stories I wasn't part of. Plans for trips I wasn't invited to. They barely noticed I was there. But when Texas leaned in and said, "Have you thought more about quitting that little job of yours?" The air in my lungs turned to ice. "I like my job, Texas," I replied, steady. Alabama interjected. "A wife's place is in the home, not playing businesswoman." "I'm not playing," I said, then came the bill. The waiter delivered it with ceremony, as if presenting a crown. Texas handed it to me, smiling. "Go ahead, cover it. You know, since you're the one who wants to work." I opened the leather folder. My stomach dropped. Over $650,000. Texas. I started, voice low. "This is too much. We can't what?" He barked. "Afford it? Don't be pathetic. Just pay it." I exhaled. Years of silence hardened inside me like stone. And then I said it. "No." The word detonated the room. His chair screeched back. He stood, reached for his plate, and in a blur, threw it at my face. I was Georgia Quinn before I was a Durand, before I let a man clip my wings and sell the silence between us as loyalty, before Texas. He wasn't always cruel, just charming enough to convince you he couldn't be. I met him in college. He had that smooth-talking Southern heat, all drawl and ambition. The Durand name opened doors. Mine kept them open. We got married young. I thought I was building a life. He was building a pedestal, one he'd knock me off every time forgot to stay small. His mother, Alabama Durand, sharpened the blade. She ran their family legacy like a cartel in pearls. Sweet tea with a side of surveillance. She called me the help with a ring. Said I was a waitress playing house in a museum of men's names. I played along at first, polished their silver, smiled at their country club friends, swallowed insults like communion wafers, until my reflection stopped looking back at me, until I couldn't hear my own thoughts over the sound of her voice telling me I was lucky to be chosen. Then came the restaurant, my father's dream, LeJardan, French fine dining in Midtown Manhattan, elegant, relentless, hours. I tried to run it and be a Durand at the same time. I lost myself in both. But there were cracks. In the kitchen, my people saw me. Maine, steady, no bullshit, always there with a midnight espresso when the nights ran long. Alaska, our pastry savant, quiet storm with flour in her hair and fire in her hands. And Vermont, warm, loyal, a server who knew when to listen and when to shove bourbon across the bar. They reminded me who I was before I married into a dynasty. It all snapped the night Alabama berated me in front of the staff, called me a kept cook in my own kitchen. Texas just stood there, glass in hand, letting me drown in her honeyed venom. That night, I packed one suitcase and my father's old knife roll. I walked out. I left the house, the last name, the country clubs. I moved back into my childhood apartment in Harlem. Tight corners, warm ghosts. I started over. Just Georgia. No Durand. I gutted the restaurant, tore out the sterile luxury and rebuilt it with my hands. My vision. Hardwood. Brass. A menu that spoke with its chest. No more approval, no more compromise. LeJardan reopened under new ownership. Mine. Then he showed up. Texas. At the door. Looking entitled. Looking confused. Like I was supposed to come undone just because he remembered I existed. I told him I wasn't his to manage anymore. He laughed until I handed him the legal documents. Divorce finalized. Shares transferred. Dynasty severed. Clean cut. Alabama sent a letter. No apology. Just a threat dressed as a prayer. I framed it in the back office. People ask if I'm angry. I'm not. I'm awake. Georgia Quinn built LeJardan from her father's ashes. Georgia Durand almost let it burn. But I'm back. And this time, I'm the fire. A knock. Maine stepped in, solemn. Sorry to interrupt, Mrs. Durand, but Mr. Durand is here. He's insisting. A chill shot through me. I nodded, steadying my breath. Show him in. As Maine left, I turned to Louisiana. We'll finish later. Can you give us a moment? He nodded, eyes full of quiet understanding. Of course, Georgia. I smoothed my blouse, bracing myself. I wasn't the woman Texas used to control. The door burst open. Texas stormed in, rage burning across his face, divorce papers clenched in his fist. What the hell is this? He growled, thrusting them at me. A joke? I met his glare. No, it's a divorce. He laughed bitterly. You can't divorce me. You're nothing without me. The old fear flickered, but I extinguished it. That's where you're wrong. I was someone before you. I'll be someone long after. He slammed the papers on my desk, breath sharp with whiskey. Everything you have is because of me, my work, my connections. I smiled, cold. Your connections? You mean the ones I introduced you to through my family's business? The one you didn't even know existed until last week? He faltered. You ungrateful little, after everything I tolerated. Your pathetic career attempts. Tolerated, I said, voice steady. You created my insecurities. You tore me down. But not anymore. He scoffed. You think you can run this restaurant alone? You'll be begging me back in a month. This place was thriving before you, I said calmly. And it'll thrive after you. Color drained from his face. You can't do this. Think about my reputation. I'm done thinking about your image, Texas. I'm thinking about me now. He lunged, grabbing my arm, but before he could speak, the door burst open. Alaska. And Maine rushed in. Alaska's eyes locked on Texas's hand. I calmly peeled it away. Everything's fine. Mr. Durand was just leaving. Texas looked between us, his anger deflating. This isn't over, Georgia. Yes, it is, I said. Goodbye. Alaska escorted him out. I sank into my chair, heart racing, but free. You all right? Maine asked from the door. I smiled. Better than all right? I feel free. He smiled back. We're behind you, Georgia. All of us. Thank you, I said, voice soft. That means more than you know. I turned to the window, the city sprawling before me. The confrontation had been ugly, but necessary. I had faced him. I hadn't flinched. I thought of the years I'd spent shrinking under Texas's thumb, silenced by Alabama's cruelty, isolated from everyone who mattered. But now I had support, a team, a purpose. I picked up the phone and called Samantha Reeves. He saw the divorce papers, I told her. He came here. I figured he would, she replied. How did it go? I told her everything. When I finished, she was quiet for a moment. I'm proud of you, Georgia. You stood your ground. That takes strength. Tears welled up. Thank you. I couldn't have done it without you. You're stronger than you think, she said. But be ready. He's not going to go quietly. I'm ready, I said. Whatever it takes, I'm not going back. Good. Then let's get to work. The next few hours were all strategy. Finances, statements, emotional abuse records. Draining, yes, but freeing too. Each document another step away from him. That evening, I stepped into the dining room. Laughter, clinking glasses, the scent of rosemary and butter in the air. LeJardan was alive. I wandered to the kitchen. Louisiana Michelle was plating with precision. He looked up. Everything all right? I smiled. Better than all right. I'd love to revisit our earlier conversation. Got a few ideas. For you? Always, he said. Just let me finish service. As I leaned against the wall, watching the rhythm of the kitchen, I knew this was my world, not Texas's circles. This heat, this grit, this creation. That was me. There would be challenges, the divorce, the rebuild. But I was ready. I was Georgia Durand, restaurateur, businesswoman, survivor. And I was just getting started. My phone buzzed mid-meeting. I excused myself to take it. Samantha? It's over, she said, triumphant. The judge signed the papers. You're free. And we won. LeJardan and all family interests stay with you. Tears burned. Thank you for everything. You did the hard part, Georgia. Now go celebrate. I stepped back into the room, overwhelmed with joy. Maine looked up. Everything all right? I smiled, radiant. Everything's perfect. The divorce is final. LeJardan is ours. The room erupted in cheers, hugs, celebration. And for the first time in years, I felt it fully. Freedom. Louisiana. Michelle grinned. Celebration menu tonight? On the house, I laughed. Let's give them a night to remember. Michelle, I said, voice steady. Let's close the restaurant to the public tonight. Just us, our team and their families. We're not just celebrating my divorce. We're honoring us, the soul we've built into this place. The idea lit a fire. Laughter, planning, movement. The team dispersed with purpose, but Maine lingered, his eyes holding something softer. "I hope you know," he said quietly, "how proud we all are of you. The way you held yourself together, and what you've done for LeJardan. It's been something to witness." A lump caught in my throat. "Thank you, Maine. I couldn't have done it alone." He smiled, his hand warm on my shoulder. "You're your parents' daughter, through and through. They'd be proud as hell." He left to help with the setup, and I slipped back into my office, needing air between the pages of this new chapter. From the window, the New York skyline pulsed, bright, alive, untamed. For the first time in a long time, it didn't intimidate me. It invited me. My phone buzzed. A text from my mother. "Heard the news. So proud of you, sweetie. Dad and I will be there tonight. Love you." I smiled. Our bond had been reforged in the fire of this past year. Stronger now. Real. They were my anchor when everything else was slipping. I set the phone down. My eyes landed on a photo from the day I joined the family business. Me between my parents, beaming. That girl had dreams. She'd disappeared somewhere in the years with Texas. But looking at her now, I realized she wasn't lost. She was waiting. By nightfall, LeJardan had transformed. The usual refined elegance was replaced with warmth. Long tables, flickering candles, laughter echoing off the walls. Children ran between the chairs. Jazz hummed. The air smelled like garlic, rosemary, and new beginnings. My parents arrived, wrapping me in a fierce embrace. "We're so proud of you," my father whispered. "You've handled everything with such grace," my mother added, her hand in mine. "And this place, it's more alive than ever." All night, people came up to me, not just to congratulate me on the divorce, but to thank me for giving the restaurant purpose beyond profit. We'd launched mentorships for young chefs from underrepresented backgrounds. We sourced locally, sustainably. LeJardan wasn't just a restaurant anymore. It was a movement. Midway through the night, Maine clinked his glass. "If I could have your attention," he said, voice strong and clear. "I want to toast the woman who rebuilt this place from the inside out, Georgia Durand." Everyone turned. I felt my cheeks warm. "You've shown us what resilience really looks like. Under your leadership, LeJardan hasn't just survived. It's thrived. You built more than a business. You built a home. To Georgia." Glasses raised. The room echoed. "To Georgia!" The gratitude in their faces. That was my real reward. This was the life I'd fought for. Not luxury, not status, but truth, community, dignity. Later, I returned to my office, the city lights glittering like a crown outside. Michelle joined.
"Me? Quite a night," he said, standing beside me. I smiled. "Perfect. What's next for Georgia Durand?" I turned to him, a spark in my chest. "I want to travel. Not long. LeJardan is my heart."
But I want to taste the world, learn new stories, bring them back here, make this place not just a top restaurant, but a global celebration of culture. Michelle nodded. "And we'll be here, holding the fort, waiting to build whatever you dream next." He left. And for a moment, I stood in silence, watching my reflection in the darkened glass. The woman I saw wasn't the one who once cried in a cold marble bathroom while a man shouted about image. She wasn't the woman who begged for a place at someone else's table. She was the table. The journey had been brutal, the kind that cracks bone. But every fracture had healed into something stronger, something unshakable. I was Georgia Durand. Daughter, leader, survivor, visionary. And this? This was just the beginning. What would you do if one night you stopped begging to be seen and started seeing yourself? That's what Georgia did. One evening, covered in the remnants of a $600,000 meal hurled at her by a man who called it love, she made a decision. No more. No more shrinking. No more pleasing people who mistook obedience for loyalty. No more waiting for a family who never wanted her to bloom. That night, she walked out, quietly, powerfully, into her own life. The woman they tried to contain now owns the room. She didn't just reclaim a restaurant. She reclaimed her name, Georgia Durand. Say it again, louder. She is no one's shadow, no one's trophy, no one's silent wife. She's the storm they never saw coming. So now I ask you, have you ever been in a room that made you feel small? In a life that fit someone else's design? And if you have, would you walk out? Tell us below. What would you have done in Georgia's shoes? If her story lit something in you, share it. Like, subscribe. Because this is just one of many stories about women taking their power back. And we're not done yet.